Well, I shall simply read to you from my Google Reader feed. The thing that only eats hippies.
I'm back.
He's the thing that only eats hippies.
That's... What the hell did I walk into?
I ask myself that every time we do a recording.
Yet again on another half episode of the Bunnycast. We have again still with us me, your hostess, Dame Helennet, the LeatherClad. We also have the Right Reverend Sir Lord Killerfish of the Keenfans, preferring to be called...
I make my name long for difficulty.
Preferring to be called this episode as Zeppo.
I challenge anybody to say his name 5 times fast.
That's your favorite challenge, and that would be Sir Xepharon the Prepared. We also have with us Squato, as usual, being unusually
and call
quiet.
Me Ramjet.
There we go. That's our usual Squato. Joining us, as if you heard the previous episode, we also have LittleKuriboh of the abridged... oh, dang it. Now
Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. Thank you. I had it backwards for some reason. The abridged Yu-Gi-Oh! Still works. And also joining us now is ThereIsNoSaurus, bunny and webcomic artist extraordinaire.
Thanks. I don't think I'm extraordinaire quite yet.
Well, Troy was partly one that is blaming for putting on. He's like, you have to put him on there. He's awesome. He must be to the world.
Troy does it to everybody.
Yeah.
I know.
Troy hugs people inappropriately.
Troy says that about...
He does. He did it to me. He got off the airplane, ran up to me in the airport, and humped me in the airport.
He did that to me too.
He does that.
He says the exact same things about me being awesome and all that stuff, in which I have to question his cognitive abilities.
In other words, you think he's balmy.
Yes.
He's what?
Nobody thinks I'm awesome.
To be fair, he is the person that made me wear a fez in the centre of CBD, the CBD of Sydney, which actually was quite fun.
Well,
I'll be honest, though, Troy's cool. Troy's cool.
Affairs. I guess, physical violence. And that
Troy's
sort of
cool.
thing.
I like him.
Fantastic. I love him.
Okay. So let's
You heard it right here. He loves him.
Let's hop into some news.
I love everyone. I'm just a great big hippie.
Careful. Oh, God.
Careful, you might encounter the thing that only eats hippies.
What?
Oh, God, I love the off-the-air breaks sometimes.
Right, in joke.
So,
No, you missed it a few minutes ago. Homer's reading off of his Google Reader, I think. Yeah. And one of the first headlines is, "The thing that only eats hippies." So we sat there laughing about it for 5 minutes or so. And you just happened to just trigger it again. Thank you.
It was perfect. It was wonderful. It brought a tear to my eye. Let me make sure this is still recording. Yes, it is. Fantastic. So, moving straight into news. All right. Killerfish, this is your news item. I'll let you run with it. Dan hates Europe.
Why is it my news item?
Because
I didn't write it.
You didn't write it?
No?
No.
Thought
You took the
wrote it.
blame for it. Or we assigned the blame. We assigned the blame for it anyway.
You assigned the blame to me.
You never
I
denied
am
it.
once again the Bunnycast scapegoat.
Yeah, you never denied it. That's the
You're
problem.
English. That's all we need to know.
I take offense at that.
Okay, so Zeph doesn't know doesn't know if he has editing permissions or not to the outline. I didn't write it. You didn't write it. That leaves
Squato.
Yeah.
Squato, did you write this thing?
I have no idea. I don't think so. But look,
Were you drunk?
But look, no. But I have been doing some searching on the side anyway during the last recording. The best guess I can come up with is the fact that it looks like Dan has a new mic, and he's been playing around with it, making the odd statement, things like that. It seems to be one of his statements is something about Europe.
well,
Maybe hating it.
I happen to have followed Dan's Twitter feed like a good bunny, and apparently he got this mic in the mail, and everything about it except this one piece of the stand was it all fitted together perfectly. This one piece, though, was a European piece that didn't fit anything else, but it was already attached to the mic.
This explains it. Then.
So I don't know how that translates to Dan hates Europe. But
It's called.
To be fair, there's a question mark. So, Dan hates Europe?
okay,
Yes.
fair enough. There is a question mark there. So
The way you described it, kind of just talking about the. Well, this is kind of something how Squato would say. Yeah, back on the topic thing, when you were talking about this and that, I wanted to make a joke.
Then I'll make a reference to something else that I was talking about 5 seconds ago.
and then continue with the joke.
Yes.
Ramjack says move on.
No, but the way you were describing that reminded me of a Red versus Blue reference when you were saying about how he just makes the odd comments here and there, just completely random, out of context. Reminds me of one of my favorite Red versus Blue lines, which Red versus Blue, for in case anyone is not familiar with it, is a Halo-based parody that has probably one of the funniest things I'd seen in a while. But one of the lines is, out of nowhere, it just goes, "My name is Michael J. Caboose, and I hate babies."
Babies.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, two favorite people.
Yes.
Okay.
It is a fantastic show if people haven't watched it. It's a little bit old these days, and I think it did tail off towards the end of the series, but the first episodes are just like pure gold.
I don't know. Season 4 was just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think that was when it really hit its stride. Now, I will say this. For those of you who have not been following it super closely, for some reason I really got into it and started following them very, very closely. They have actually done sort of follow-up series.
Reconstruction and... I can't remember what the name of the next one is. They actually have 2 more seasons after that. Or a season after that.
The most recent one... Oh, no. The one just before the most recent series was, I think, just as good, if not better, than their heyday during the original run.
And the best part is they actually took a more dramatic storyline, plot-based approach. While keeping,
they used plot!
Yes, while keeping that same element of humor that they've had the entire time. Like, for example, watch this. Hey, Homer. Deploying EMP. You're supposed to laugh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's been long enough since I've heard it.
Oh, God, I fail.
Yeah.
I'll just call fail and then we can go on.
All right, all aboard the fail boat.
Do a barrel roll.
all aboard the fail motorcycle.
Just as a tip, if you're ever actually in a boat, doing a barrel roll is not the smartest maneuver.
And you know this from personal experience, do you?
In nautical circles, it has another common name. This is called capsizing.
In standard English, we call it oh shit.
Okay, in other news, I'm going to throw this out there to the crowd. What in the hell is CUV news and statement from Misty all about?
Coming up, Violet.
Oh, coming?
Yes.
Squato, spell it out. What is CUV? Could mean anything. Okay.
Sorry, just to usurp her using because I do speak with her Misty, because the previous guest on the show,
right.
How she came on for the comic coming out, Violet, which she was worked on. I say was because the comic has now finished.
The comic itself, but the way it sounded like was that the guy that
apparently there was a bad
thing.
When the two.
I said the way it sounded like was that he kind of dropped her and is going to be bringing on somebody else. That's the impression I got.
No, he's actually outright dropped it completely. Although he apparently seems to be some suggestions from some people is he may be regretting his decision because he just after it seemed the case of that there was a fight. It might have been a fight. It was bad, and he just like, you know what, fuck it, you have it, type thing. And now he's
his email box was on fire.
But yeah, he's kind of seems to be regretting it. But because he's made his decision, he made the statement public. He is following what he made, so it's open, and it's being left. He's pretty much left the project as it is. Misty is not interested at all in continuing it, so call it dead. She's outright deleted all references to it from her
DeviantArt. Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, "What? Whoa!"
Well, now we have something for the Dead Comic Society.
Well, just recent in the recent comic obituaries.
Yeah, good heavens!
Haha, that's a bad one.
Other than the official statements that they've made, there's nothing that I can really add to it. As I said, the things I made, that's more conjecture and what seems to be what people are thinking. I do actually know from speaking with Misty what her view on the situation is. I am not going to state that because unless they actually make any public statements, yeah, but that's basically the situation.
My hands are so big, like ridiculously huge.
Who fed him brownies?
That was weird.
Oh my god! I've got spots on the back of my hand that I never knew about.
Special brownies.
Squato, see if you can get her back on the show. I'd like to do a piece with her on that. Just to.
It may be some time because she apparently lost, or the last mic doesn't work, so she has to get another one.
Right.
Well, there goes my demanding statement of doing it right now, so we can have a record of 7 people on a podcast.
No.
You thought it was insanity before.
She'll be playing TF2, so...
Yeah, you're right. She was torching people with a flamethrower.
Ooh, she loves to do that.
She's a pyro.
Okay, so
I have a little bit of news, kind of.
go ahead.
Apparently, North Korea has denounced Obama's new nuclear strategy, pretty much declaring his declaring his stance as hostile, and they're going to keep making its arsenal bigger, and it's not going to be good, obviously.
I think
I think
he's doing that because his hair's falling out, so he has to compensate.
But what was it? I'm going to actually read from there, from this directly. I'm going to read a small excerpt. Miffed by Obama's move, North Korea accused his government of being no better than the Bush administration, quote, hell-bent on posing a nuclear threat, unquote, to North Korea, and said it would not give up its atomic weapons. As long as the nuclear... Damn it. Quote, as long as the U.S. nuclear... Yeah, damage. As long as the U.S. nuclear threat persists, and in parentheses, North Korea, will increase and update various type nuclear weapons as its deterrent in such a manner as it deems necessary in the days ahead. The official Korean Central News Agency quoted an unidentified foreign ministry spokesman as saying as of Friday. So,
Squato, have you been talking to the news again?
Saying that, you just kind of reminded me with all this, because you covered it last podcast. Quite you.
My earlier statement proves true. Hey, speaking of the thing that you spoke of earlier, I'm going to say something now.
Can I with North Korea, shut up. My cousin... Shut up, you two.
We're not saying anything.
It's distracting. Ramjet is not pleased.
Reject our reality and instant. Whatever the hell you say.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but I got a cousin of mine who's married to a colonel. Yeah, he's a colonel in the Australian Army, and I say this because this has actually been publicly released. So it's records and all this, and you can actually find this, so it's no problem saying it. But he's actually serving over in South Korea, actually in Seoul, as the Australian Defence Attaché to the Joint Logistics Command, or whatever. Sorry, the Joint Defence Force, or whatever it's called, in South Korea. So before he was going, I was joking about, hey, you better hope it doesn't actually, heat up there. He's like, oh, it's not going to heat up. Like anything's going to happen, it's going to cause a problem. It's like, that's North Korea.
Well, look, come on, guys.
At least
Nobody's going to invade South Korea. Like, their national sport is StarCraft. They have an entire fucking army of military geniuses just, lying around.
I never thought of that. Oh, shit. We're screwed.
Hey, anybody remember what happened to North Korea? I don't know, but there's this nice field of glass there.
It's been replaced with computer cyber cafes, and for some reason they all have a fan of Blizzard games. Yeah, but they've been showing a willingness recently to actually return to the disarmament negotiations, but they've decided, I guess, right now, says the ministry said Obama's new policy has chilled the hard-won atmosphere for the resumption of the talks.
What does that even mean?
It means everybody...
We now have the Bureau for responding to the Australian confusion.
Actually, that's being quoted. Basically, it means... Yeah, I know your point still stands, but basically it means that the people that liked the idea of the talks before are now going, yeah, never mind, fuck that.
That's always the way North Korea does things, which is if they feel that someone's going to talk to them, they just respond with, hey, we're going to do something threatening because that makes us look so much for a peaceful country to deal with.
Amusingly enough, on the very same article, it says, meanwhile, North Korea's Supreme People's Assembly held its annual rubber stamp session to approve bills vetted by the ruling Communist Workers' Party.
Do we want to go to war with the United States? No.
Yeah, legislators discussed plans for economic development, the state budget, constitutional revisions, and personal appointments, they said. The most important item on the agenda involved stepping up the technological upgrading and modernizing of the national economy.
This is the country that goes black every night?
No, this is a country which gaming cafe, and this is not joking, there's gaming cafes people have been to and tourists and that, And the games they have in there are NES stuff.
Well, hey there,
It's NES
dude,
games.
that means if I
NES
can open up
systems,
my...
and they're not connected to TVs because the TVs are not actually connected to any power sockets because there's no power outlets in the rooms for the gaming rooms.
That just means I could bring over my my internet cafe over there and be a big hit, because that or be called a witch.
Yeah, I was going to say. Okay.
Technology, no.
I have one thing.
I mean,
to say.
it's interesting. I mean, even the Amish over here are using our computers. You got something when the fucking Amish are coming in and going, "Ooh, let me check my email."
Mennonites, but yeah, same diff.
You know what? Someone showed me this the other day. I love the website for North Korea because they got an official website saying how great the country is. Oh, and you can buy shirts saying how great the country is.
Really?
Support the fan base.
Yeah. I love North Korea.
I heart
humorous catchphrase is, "We will go to war with you."
I heart NK.
We do not have any nuclear weapons.
I honestly, God, recommend going to take a look at the website for the North Koreans' official website. It is fucking hilarious as sin.
I heart NK.
Okay, moving on. I do have one news item and one word to say, and I'm going to leave it there. iPad.
iTampon.
No.
Yep.
He smashed it.
No.
I'm surprised you actually beat me to saying that. I think that's the first time ever.
Hey,
What,
I
iTampon?
work at Apple. If I hadn't beat you to it, I would have been ashamed.
Enhance.
His brain froze.
So, who beat you to saying what? iTampon or no?
Yeah, the tampon jokes with the iPad. It's just come out for you guys, hasn't it?
Yep.
Because obviously we don't have it yet, because we get everything like 6 months after the rest of the world.
I'm a
It hasn't even been.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
It hasn't even been priced for us, so we don't even know what the hell its price is going to be.
Oh, interesting little random tidbit. My guys are playing golf again.
Like, how much does it cost for you guys?
$500.
I haven't looked.
It's like about 1,200, despite the fact our dollar is at about 94 cents.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have any idea what like the computer game market is like here? You can go on Steam, right, and buy a computer game for about like 35, 40 US bucks. Or you could go to the store and buy it for 100 Australian dollars.
Or you can go on website and purchase it from an Australian distributor there for $80.
So,
Or you could go into somebody's house, kill them with a crowbar, and you could get it for nothing.
You want to come to? You want to be deported to Australia,
Grandma.
don't you?
I'm depressed.
Sorry.
I'm depressed. I missed that because the voice skipped out and I could not hear it. Please repeat that.
Oh, it's
It cannot be repeated. What has been done cannot be
you missed it.
It cut out. Audio cut out. Oh, for shame. Skype, you fail me yet again. Damn you.
Well, there goes.
Con! Skype!
So, okay. Okay. ThereIsNoSaurus.
yes.
Comic.
Yes.
Describe for the audience, please.
No. I mean, yes.
I gave my version of what it was meant to be, which I probably more than likely failed doing it last time. But hey, that's my turn.
That's your
That
turn.
was
I still haven't heard that because I don't think it's up yet. But
It's not.
I write a webcomic. I've been writing one for about 4 years now. I started it basically to learn how to draw rather than really because I had a coherent story to tell, but it's shaped into sort of a half serious, half parody comic. Basically looking at the definitions of heroism. And it's sort of, when I started it, that was back when I was sort of really into like The Watch and AGS and Misfile and most of the comics that are quite close to the Bunny community, the 910 community, which is what the Watch community turned into. And the one sort of thing that gave me a huge issue with all of them is the characters behaved in relation to like all these revelations about just weird shit like God exists or there is magic, and they just went, oh, okay, that's cool.
Sorry. Yeah.
Which for me is just like, if you get concrete proof that God exists, and so does heaven, and so does hell, that like completely changes everything. And in Misfile, it's just like, hey, you're an angel. That's cool. And that's pretty much all the philosophy we're going to have in the comic, which is just like the most amazingly huge suspension of disbelief for me. So yeah, I started Hit to kind of like examine what would actually happen to, you know, regular kids if they got stuck in such a ridiculously crazy situation.
They would go ridiculously crazy.
Yeah, is they all go crazy, get depressed, and die, which doesn't make for a good story. So I have, in the end...
Or they buy a lot of cannabis. One of those.
And brownie mix.
I'm saying nothing.
Well, that
I
answers
am
that
taking
question.
a couple of headache pills.
Couple bottles.
There's no source. Go on, please.
So in the end, what the comics ended up with is I have a fairly wide cast, about the sort of same number as EGS, 7 or 8 sort of main regular characters, and they all very deliberately fit into sort of story, narrative, and comic archetypes. So you got the martial artist kid, the brainy kid, the kid that everybody, he's the empathetic one that nobody really cares about. You've got the cat girl, the crippled savant, and the Genki girl. That sort of just fairly broad.
What every webcomic has.
Exactly. But I try and the interesting thing is I've never actually had anyone. That's how I categorize the characters. But no one's ever told me I have stereotype or archetypical characters. Because the way I write them, they don't feel that way because they behave a little bit more naturally, even if they're framed from that reference. I mean, Squato's read Hit, I'm sure. Have any of you guys?
I had. He told me. Actually, interestingly enough, I had gotten your Skype message friend invite thing, and I'm like, "Who's this guy?" So I go ahead and, because there's just suddenly this thing of, hold on, let me find it here. It's just, this is ThereIsNoSaurus from HIT. I'm sitting there going, who? No offense. No offense. So I'm like, okay.
I was like 4 years ago. I drew a lot of EGS fan art. You should know me. I'm a legend in the community.
I'm more than likely have seen it. I'm more than likely familiar with it. The name was like, what? But so I go ahead. I look at your little profile thing. I go ahead and add details, and I see this little link over here. It says http://ThereIsNoSaurus comment. Okay, let's click that. Click. Oh, this guy does comics.
Well, actually,
cool.
Let's mention the URL for people, just because I'd like to point out that I typed in herointraining.com, and I got
some ad site. Yes, I know. I did the same
placeholder page, and related searches: alcohol rehab, addiction treatment, drug rehab.
You would not believe how much crap
what we're just talking about. No, but so I actually looked at. Heroin training. Not hero in training. Gotcha. No. So I actually went, clicked his link, and found the page that says, hey, this page has been moved. So then I went herointraining.com, failing to see herointrainingcomic.com, getting the exact same thing that Homer just got. And then I went to the actual thing, and I'm looking at the pages here, going that these are actually rather well drawn. Wow, that guy looks like Ichigo from Bleach.
Sebastian, the guy with orange hair.
Orange hair. Yeah. Okay. Actually, he really does. Do you watch Bleach?
No.
You should.
I make a habit of not watching serialized anime, so like Bleach, Naruto.
Yeah. That's actually...
I mean, it's not that I think that they're bad. It's just they're long, and I don't have the time. I prefer watching sort of short stuff. By the way, Higashi no Eden, has anyone watched that?
What?
No, afraid not.
You're all insane. And I have to watch it because it's fantastic.
So I'm looking at the artwork, and I'm going to have to say that based on the very few pages that I've seen so far, I'm going to have to recommend that if people for whatever reason aren't into a story, which I do very much enjoy a story, at least look at it for the art. It's actually nicely well drawn. It's not overcomplicated. It's easy for the eyes, and I can still see expression on the face of the characters. And although honestly, I really have no idea what it's about right yet because I haven't read anything, but still,
yeah, most people have been reading
check
before you still don't have any idea what it's about.
I still have to say. I still have to say
that's a good sign there. So
I have to say to our listeners, do check it out. It's herointrainingcomic.com, which resembles heroin training comic, which is no relation.
It's such a good comic. Even the comic artist doesn't even know what's going on.
I mean,
that's a great recommendation.
Even the comic artist is in suspense, wondering what's going to happen next.
If I can just put in a plug there, the reason, like the current set of comics that I'm putting up at the moment, kind of on and off, is supposed to be a recap of the first two parts. I've just finished the second part of the comic, and I'm basically just doing a set of summary comics that go over the first two parts so people don't have to read the first two. The reason why you wouldn't want to read the first two is if you go into the archives and then click around chapter 3, because I redrew chapter 1 and 2, they were so horrible, and just click like the second or third comic of chapter 3 and quality of art comparison. It's the award I frequently win in various competitions is most improved.
He has, trust me.
I'm sorry, I'm just going back through the pages. And I found something that is just it made me laugh there when I couldn't hold back. It's you might be familiar. You'll probably be familiar with it. But in the first panel, the guy has this oh my god look on his face. It's like a close up quarter shot, and you see this a lightning bolt or something through his eye. Somewhere else, you see a flash of light from really a far distance from that spot. You see that flash of light going up. Then you see somewhere from space, and then from the solar system, this flash of light, and then you actually go into the final panel of the guy that's sitting there in the theater, and someone next to him goes, "Huh? Did someone fart?" Just like what?
Very good.
This awesome, epic flash, this amazing thing, and
nobody noticed. Yeah.
So
I mean, the comic it's fairly serious in demeanor. I mean, it's a lot about people having to cope with this stuff as opposed to, enjoying. Like, EGS and The Watch is really kind of celebration of weird shit going on. And that's cool. I mean, I love EGS. Mostly for the characters, but also, some of the situations are quite amusing. Hit doesn't so much do that, but it does, like, try and, take the piss out of itself sometimes. And the characters, recognize their situation a lot more sort of postmodernly or fourth wall breakingly. Oh, not fourth wall breakingly, but they acknowledge the situation they're in. Part of the problem with suspension of disbelief with the sort of weird comics is if you start doing that with your characters, then you start bringing up issues like, if they actually acknowledge that, then shouldn't they be acting a little bit differently? But in Heroin Training, because all the characters do acknowledge that the situation's really, really weird and fucked up, them making comments on, like, are we in a movie or something? Or, like, this should not be happening, work a little bit better.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. In the summary, you answered pretty much all the questions I had.
ask more questions.
Throwing away that card, let's move on to the next.
That's a very well done summary. I mean, seriously, it's like, wow. As I'm listening to you, well, you answered your inspiration, you answered your art progression, you answered your skill set, you answered everything I was going to ask.
Sorry?
You've been asked these questions before, haven't you?
No, actually. I've done...
Really?
I think I've done one interview on Hit before.
Do you ever go into public speaking?
Oh, yeah, I did. I went on to the 910 podcast, but that's like every single person is a comic artist, so we just talk shop and wander around. And so they, when I did my intro, they're just like, "So, who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm this guy in Australia. I have no life." Hey, guys.
You've just described everybody in Australia.
I'll have some country.
And I now have several nuclear devices aimed at my house.
Including from North Korea.
just recording a podcast, Grandma.
Just another point is, like I said, I did once upon a time. I'll see if I can, while I'm talking, pull some of this old stuff up. I have most
Prepare
of my
for the
old
horror.
art. Oh, well, actually, no. A lot of the EGS fan art I did, I was quite proud of at the time, and I still sort of am. If you've been around in the community, you've probably seen like at least one thing I've done. I'm not a regular sort of contributor like Moom or who else. Yeah,
Kyrio.
I'm quite good friends with him. He's a great chap.
He's helped me out a lot of my art. He really has.
Now, if we could just get said artists to appreciate their own work.
Yeah.
You're talking about me or him?
I'm also good friends. Jenny, guys, read, watch, cheer, Salsa Bar.
Oh yes,
She is the most
Read who? Which what?
Oh God.
Read which what now?
The cheer. Sorry, the watch cheer.
Watch cheer.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just the watch. And I think significantly better than the thing it was based on, which is not the usual trend.
Well, what I appreciated about that was that when they started introducing weird stuff like, I'm going to go around and invisibly trip everybody that can't see or hear me. Oh, okay. And then you read the watch, and there's people that are tripping randomly, just in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
I would do that. I would so do that.
Those comics have is quite good. But I think Cheer is a better author as far as developing a plot and developing characters goes than Anne. I mean, I don't hold The Watch up as a great comic, but it has its like this own distinct feel, which doesn't give it much chance to develop. So it's very good at what it does, but it can't do a huge amount, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes sense.
I just want to be known to... Yeah, I just want to be known for people is we have been trying to approach Tez to be... However you want to pronounce his name. Yeah, to be on the Bunnycast as a guest. Unfortunately, this has not been able to work out due to the fact that when the recordings take place, he's in the middle of his workday.
Well, let me ask you about another progress report then, Squato. Any luck with contacting Conan O'Brien?
Thank you for getting into that, because we didn't do that. We didn't cover that last time.
No, we didn't. I'm kind of ashamed of myself.
Yes. I haven't actually put the message through because I've been able to track it down to... Wait. I've been able to track down to his... what is it? His management. And it seems to have been... yes, I'm just trying to work out the best way of approaching that. But I'll have it sent within the next day or two.
Yeah, I guess.
Wow, really?
Yeah, no, it's
Serious.
Homer, if for whatever reason
no,
I'm not online during that time, call me. I will get online.
Absolutely.
You have my
Remember,
information. Call me.
Well, because we made the promise was that if the internet can actually get him on there, we're going to try everything we can to get him on there. But we really do need the internet to try and get the message out there to get on here. Just because we're a small random thing of unimportance.
The listener base would just like explode.
Yes.
Yeah.
In numbers, I mean, it'd probably explode too, but
And that's not because I've been sticking bombs up people's noses.
oh my God, Conan O'Brien!
I would have to go into hiding so that Jim doesn't, hire a sniper to take me out.
Oh, he can't afford a sniper at the moment.
Oh, God.
Well, then I'll make sure to wear some thick clothes so that the kid with a slingshot.
No, he'll just get KF to go over you and slap you silly with a fish. That's what his evil plan would be.
Aha.
No, they just order a massive truck of fertilizer at your house. Why fertilize?
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to some webcomic reviews.
So, yes, internet, go crazy trying to get Conan O'Brien on the show.
Yes.
Everybody explodes.
Do it now.
ThereIsNoSaurus. You said you wanted to go ahead and review a webcomic.
Yep. I'll do one, if you like, called The Abominable Charles Christopher. Have we done this before? Has anyone heard of it?
I don't think so.
I have not heard either.
So the URL for The Abominable Charles Christopher is www.tacc.txcomics.com, if you want to get it up so you can have a look at it. And to give you a brief bit of background.
Sorry.
Down.
The artwork? No, the artwork's actually pretty cool.
Now, one of the big the killer things for this is it has absolutely amazing artwork. It's a sort of blend of story and single comic gag strips. So not in the sense that it tries to do both at once. It does both, like, sequentially. It'll do one and then do a story strip and then do a gag strip, then do a story strip. The art is sort of reminiscent, I always find, of, if any of you are familiar with the English naturalist movement, where the animals of Farthing Wood, Beatrix Potter, so like Peter Rabbit, Mother Goose.
I remember. I used to have those books.
Really
Those are
beautiful,
vaguely familiar to me.
sort of naturalistic artwork. So it's still quite cartoony, but it's just so beautiful and detailed. The story itself is about an abominable snowman sort of type Yeti dude, who's basically just wanders around through this environment with a whole bunch of crazy animals. And
you've already sold the comic to me.
I'm tempted to read the latest page to you all. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Can I, Homer? Can I please?
Let ThereIsNoSaurus finish.
Okay.
The big thing though is if you go back and you read it all the way from the start, it has a surprisingly, like, you'd think that it's just like funny gags and whatnot, but pretty much of any comic I've read, it has the most beautifully deep, mysterious, and very touching, like emotionally touching at some point story of any comic I've read, or any webcomic I've read, period. It's really, really, really moving and deep at times. You do have to go back and read the whole thing to get it. But when you do, you're just like, oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's...
Like, as much as I hate to say it, because I'm an absolute fanboy for Gunner Creek Court, it, like, even blows Gunner Creek Court out of the water. It's quite freaky.
I don't know. I think they're probably both pretty comparable in terms of being really well-told stories that have a touch of the bizarre and yet still remain incredibly coherent. But
yeah.
Yes, I do agree with you. I've been following The Abominable Charles Christopher for some time. So, okay, Xepharon?
Okay, yeah. Okay. Two birds are sitting on a branch. This sounds like the opener for a joke. Two birds are sitting on a branch, and one bird says, I don't get this. The other one goes, well, it's simple. Let's say you have got a delicious berry you're going to eat. How many berries is that? One. Right. And say someone comes along and gives you another berry. Now, how many do you have? The other bird says, 2. Bird A. Yes, and if you add another one, and then in which case the second bird just throws the wings up in irritation and goes, see? Why would I ever need to know that? Berries are for eating, not for counting. Like every other high school student or anything. Why am I ever going to use this? Seriously, in all honesty, I'm one of the owners for a computer center. I'm a business owner. I've never used slope intercept form or exponential notation.
That's because math curriculum is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you plan on becoming an engineer, great, but I don't know. That's just me. I've never used any of it, though. I don't even use the word exponential in a sentence unless I'm talking about griping about math.
Okay, well, Zeph, while you're on a roll, talk about your comic that you're going to review.
My comic is called DMFA, which stands for Dan and Mab's Furry Adventures. Originally... Huh?
Oh, goody.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that sounds just a little creepy. Dan and Mab's Furry Adventures started out as Dan and Mab's Furcadian Adventures. Changed the name due to mostly out of respect, but also kind of out of copyright issues and not wanting to be sued. The main has a pretty diverse character cast. In fact, I believe the URL is, yes, it is, missmab.com. That's MISSMAB. Oh, God. MISSMAB.com. And the artwork is very neat, very cute, also fun to look at, and still cool at the same time. Yes, it is definitely a furry comic. My kind of comic. Oh, yes, by the way, in case you guys didn't know, I'm the local furry. Hi.
I think you'd be the
I'm sorry, I actually had to laugh at the timing of that sound.
Yeah, I just got a text message.
Okay, so.
But anyway, so the artwork is great. The storyline is actually quite incredible. At first, the comic originally starts out as just being gags and jokes about different things and themes and memes that people are going on about at the time. But then, the comic just takes off on not only the graphic quality, but then a story develops, and you get this beautiful creation of this story, where you have your main character Danielle Tifiona, and I have no idea if I've pronounced that last name right, who is at first, unbeknownst to him, spoiler alert, unbeknownst to him, an incubus, and for him, he's an adventurer, and incubi, succubi, and other demons and other monsters and everything. He's been living his whole life adventuring against, taking care of, taking out, and destroying, and all of a sudden he finds out, oh crap, I am one. But it goes on in a rather amusing tangent.
Oh yes, you have the perfect traits to be an adventurous, Leia.
Yes, actually, that's actually not very far off from one of the actual lines.
That's what I was reciting. Anyways, go on. I'm sorry.
Steal my thunder.
I'll give it back.
Well, you can have it. No, but more or less, without really saying what the story is about, because I'm trying to figure out how to say it before I sound stupid.
Today.
That's why I said But the story itself is mostly a lot about a group of characters that... I'm trying to summarize this on the spot. I forgot to make that script.
It's kind of...
This is why I use a script.
It's kind of Friends, but good. It's very sitcom-y, but with a lot of adventure flavor, if you will.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it jumps around a bit, but at the same time, it follows that jumping around in places and stories smoothly, in a way that it fits. Quite honestly, I would have to say it's definitely a must-read.
Don't forget the side comic that the artist is doing.
Oh yes, Abel's Story is what it's called. One of the characters' name is Abel, who is rather quite the cynic in the comic. Is so much fun to read about, so much fun to just look at. But then there's a story about his upbringing, which is actually a very dark, twisted, almost horrific, even upbringing.
Yeah.
And
if the main comic is G, this is definitely PG-13.
Well, yeah, I mean, even at the start of Abel's story, you have the first thing here saying that it's a little disclaimer of her little censor panda named Fatine for, teen rated. So, there you go. That's how it's... Read it. This is why I script this out before, normally.
Okay. Killerfish, go ahead and review yours.
I'm reviewing a comic that I stumbled upon, which is known as Endstone. And reading the About page, I shall just read that out for you. Endstone is the story of Kiri Thunderhead, a simple deer from the forests of Pennsylvania. Kiri must battle demons, gods, and even stoners to keep the mysterious and powerful Endstone from falling into nefarious hands. The world is at stake, but is the world worth saving? Now, when I read this, when it said stoners, I thought it actually meant, cannabis stoners. But it's actually much more a term for people who have these mysterious, powerful stones, which grant them several powers. One of them is called the Bane Stone, which grants you incredible power, strength, intelligence, but also drives you incredibly insane. And there are all these various different types of stones, and when you use them, it's called rocking the stone. So I actually like this comic. It's not a colour comic, it's much more back to the original black and white comics that you got in the early Stan Lee days. So it's actually quite a good comic. It's set in a world which is sort of like ours, only it's magical and somebody's done something. I haven't quite figured out the plot yet, but I would suggest somebody read it and tell me about what the plot is, and then I'll be able to tell you.
It's definitely very sort of, American serial comic inspired, at least in the artwork as far as I can see.
Yeah.
It's got a very sort of traditional comic novel format, so it's probably a good one for the people who like their superhero comics and Watchmen and so forth.
If you like your comics actually being comics. I don't know what I mean by that.
See, I don't know. We're probably not going to cover it, but one of the things I sort of brought up with Squato as a possible topic is what webcomics have sort of done to broaden what people sort of generally consider comics. And it's not because really they're innovating as much as people think. It's just because they're from all the cultures all over the world. So, I mean, for people in Japan, a comic is a completely different thing to a person in Europe. It's a completely different thing to a person in America. And even in parts of Europe, like English comics have their own style compared to like French and Belgian comics, which I know because I used to live in France briefly. So I grew up on stuff like Asterix and Tintin, and then like when I was about 15, people were just like, "Hey, check out these awesome comics." And I'm like, Superman, like, this isn't a comic. This is like some guy hitting things. What?
Anyway, I really should put up the URL before we go any further.
Yeah.
http://endstone.net. So there we go. Haha. All sorted.
Good. Thank you, Killerfish. Now I'm going to be reviewing Xepharon, and Xepharon features as the main character a strong blonde barbarian from the north who gets transformed into a woman, a very hot-bodied woman who very aggressive, very non-traditional. Definitely, basically, when she can't stand shopping for clothes, but when she walks by a weapons shop, she says, "Toys!" Now, the regulars on this show, can you tell me why I like this show, or this comic?
Yes, but I'm going to be silent.
That's what did you know?
So, it's It's a swords and sorcery type comic. It starts out basically explaining how the main character, who, yes, the actual name is Tiffany.
Yes.
Becomes a woman, and it also features the wizard who turned her, and introduces a little bit of the story, including my favorite secondary character, who of course is the princess. There's some characters that come up. I'm not going to spoil things, but there's when there's a new secondary character, you can tell because the artist / author does a really good job of saying, this is not like these other people that are kind of in the background as set props that are just there to help move the story along. This person is going to become integral to the way things are done in this comic. And again, it's the way it's written, but you know that there's going to be more backstory, and sure enough, more backstory starts showing up. And there's also a few bit characters that all of a sudden get fleshed out by apparently random things. Now, I haven't spoken to the author, and I haven't gotten onto the forum, so I don't know for sure, but I suspect that a lot of this is kind of like the way it is for the Dynamax Furry Adventures, sort of genius by accident. They get this wild idea for, hey, this would be funny, and then that shoots off and develops its own whole separate storyline. And one of the things that I really do like about this is, I mean, anybody who knows me knows I like alternate timelines and time travel and whatnot. One of the features about this comic is that there is an alternate timeline comic presented called Dark Reflections, I think it is, where it's like the main comic, very, very early on, it shows the warrior Tiffany freeing the princess, defeating the wizard, and then they go about their wacky adventures. In Dark Reflections, somehow at some point, after Tiffany was turned into a woman, did not go the way it goes in the main comics. Her brain is controlled by the wizard. He takes over he's in the process of taking over the world with Tiffany as his primary enforcer. So
puppet love slave.
Probably. So it becomes very, very dark very quickly, and of course that's the whole purpose of that particular alternate timeline. But it's clear that Tiffany is still going to be the hero, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they work that out. So
it's also it's a notable comic for being quite, well, not unique in the way it sells itself. I mean, there's obviously Slipshine as well, but Drow is more the guy who's the author is a lot more a business person than he is a traditional sort of starving artist type, and he has developed this way. Like he doesn't draw the comic. He did try originally. He is, by the way, he's one of the artists within the 910 collective that EGS and Hero and Training and quite a few other comics are also a part of.
We are the 910 collective. You will be assimilated.
Yeah.
Resistance is futile.
So the way he does it is, obviously his comic has a huge amount of fan service, and he does, pin-ups and topless stuff that you can buy. And for me, that's just like, you're selling out, you're friggin'. But you have to admit, he's got a really good business model, and he can afford to hire pretty good artists to get it working. So it's a fantastic looking comic if you go and read it. The art's
well, now it's fantastic. When it first started, it's
that was when he was trying to draw it. But he's taken that all off the side, hasn't he?
Yeah. All the original art is gone. I went through the archives very recently just to see if it was still there, and no, it's gone. It's all the new stuff, all good. It looks fantastic now.
So yeah, if you like really good art and you like sexy vixens, well, not vixens in the Squato sense, but
man knows our audience.
Check it out.
Yes,
it's probably not the deepest story you'll ever read, though.
No, it's not. There's a reason you go to read it, and this deep story is not it. Okay.
Boobies.
So we're just going to close up here. First off, I want to mention our sponsors and hosts of our show, Shastrix. Oh, guys, come on. Line.
Hurrah! Totally not rehearsed. I don't know what to do.
Oh, I know you don't.
Oh, these amazing people.
Shastrix.com. You will join us.
Close enough.
Or not have tea.
Okay. So, projects. ThereIsNoSaurus. Do you have a project other than herein training that you're working on that you want to plug?
Yeah, well, it's not really a project. If you're a bunny and you hang around the bunny forums on presumably most people actually have shifted across to the new ones and they're not all hanging around the old King spot. If you go up into the main directory and then go down to the Tandy Forest Art Fair, there's a thread in there called Spectacular, which is, at the moment, I'm kind of on a break from regular comic updating, and I've opened myself up to free commissions. If you have an idea and you want it drawn, I will draw it, or I will try and draw it. And basically just post shit you want drawn, whether it's EGS, whether it's fan art from another comic, whether it's your own characters. Just post it up, make it as detailed as possible, and if it looks pretty cool, I'll do it.
I'm trying not to laugh about this phrase, post shit you want drawn.
Don't start that again.
And yeah, I've pretty much at the moment, most of it's been people asking to have their Tandy avatar battle avatars drawn.
Cool.
There's a few of the bunnies who you've probably seen who've got stuff from that, but I'm also doing quite a bit of just mucking around fun art. So it's worth a check out and just have a look through if you like, because there's some funky story concepts that I'm probably not going to do, but I've done concept work for in there that are quite fun to read, and obviously all just the random art, which is good for anyone who likes drawing.
Cool.
Okay.
So yeah, spectacular in the art forum.
Thank you much. Killerfish project.
I'm building a castle out of disused beer cans.
Squato project. He's silent. He's been silent. It's weird. Xepharon project. And he's silent. Okay. I think Xepharon had to take a call for his work. So, my project is getting ready for Comic-Con. Just so that all the bunnies know, we are working on a non-Comic-Con track for the BunnyCon. So keep an eye on the news on the forums, and I'll let everybody know what we develop on that. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and say farewell. Thank you for showing up. ThereIsNoSaurus. LittleKuriboh did have to duck out earlier, so we thank him from a distance, if you will. And that's going to be it. Say goodnight, Killerfish and ThereIsNoSaurus, because the other two aren't here.
Bye,
good night.
everybody.
I could pretend to be Squato and say good night for him.
You mean the it's morning?
It's morning. It's not night time. I want to go to sleep.
This is a time that only exists in the darkest depths of your nightmares. Like, this is not time. It is untime. It is like something that is really bad. I totally don't know how to describe.
So it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon here, then.
It's like...
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Chasing one day after the next. No settle down, no easy text, baby. But it makes me feel alive when you're here by my side. You complete the two of us, you make the rules apply. It's a crazy world, in a twisted turn of reality. It's you and me, and I need you here to keep some sanity. We are but pawns in a faded game of cat and mouse. Maybe a couple of head traps thrown out here and there. This crazy world is all messed up, all in my hair. I've got you, I don't care. world at my command. But now all that I want is just to be your man. It's a crazy world, in a twist and turn of reality. It's you and me, and I need you here to keep some sanity. We are but pawns in a faded game of cat and mouse. Maybe a couple of guinea pigs thrown out here and there. This crazy world is all messed up in my head. I got you, I don't care.